Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how you doing? Good, good.
Yeah, I'm well too. Excited. I'm loving this record. What a cool record World Begun is. You guys, what, 17 albums in or something like this, and you're still doing it. So,
I know, we're so old.
I didn't mean it like that.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it.
It's an accomplishment for any artist to make it this far and still be creative. And I think, I've been a fan of all the releases, but to hear something like this where you guys are still sort of pushing your own envelope, it's really impressive. Really, a lot of respect in there.
Thank you.
So all of that, and I guess that's the place to start. There's sort of an angle that I know, the press is going for on this record, and I'll go ahead and take the bait because it is a bit of a reflective record of our times. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I mean, we decided this time around that we wouldn't. I mean, the last two records that we released were kind of like more dance pop records, and we thought this time around that we would do something a little bit more atmospheric. And at the same time, obviously, there's so many weird things happening in the world right now. We could try and reflect some of that in the lyrics and the feeling of this album.
And it's not. I wouldn't say it. It's not an overtly political record because it doesn't beat you over the head. But the way you guys have slipped in the themes and ideas, and even the music that mirrors it. And I guess that's part of the question too. On your side, musically, if you guys are talking about this record sort of being, going in this direction thematically, do you try to match the mood to it, or is it still just two people writing and this is what comes out?
Well, I think what I did this time round, I mean, usually Andy and I would sit in a room with a guitar or a piano and then start from scratch. But for this record, I recorded some backing tracks first, and that I felt were emotive and suggestive. So when Andy heard those for the first time, and we were sitting there together listening to them, that's when these lyrical ideas came out. Yeah. So it almost like the music suggested the kind of themes that we wanted to talk about.
And you really get that, especially several tracks, but one I really focused on is "Oh What a World," because that really goes in a dark place musically, quite different from what I'm used to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, that was interesting because I wrote that. I wrote the backing track, I should say, when about 6 months before Andy and I got together, and I was I was literally in a dark place when I was doing it.
That helps.
I was in a hotel in Brighton, and it was the middle of winter, and it was dark and horrible, and I was just messing about with my keyboard in a hotel room somewhere, and that's when that thing happened. I mean, it was I don't know. That was the very first track that was written for this album.
When you're this far in, and you've been working with the same person for 30 years, as it were. I mean, I know a lot of artists, you're sort of looking for a stone to push up against to get the creativity out. And maybe you're afforded that with what's going on in the world. But do you still find that you need that? Do you need a little bit of conflict to get, I don't know, the inspiration?
Not really. I mean, I don't think, we don't, Andy and I tend not to conceptualize too much before we make an album because we really don't know what's going to happen at the end, And, some albums come easier, or some songs are written easier than others. And this particular album, as I say, with everything going on, there were lots of lyrical themes that we could work on and experiment with. So this album was one of those ones that came very, very easily and quite quickly for us.
And then another song I'd love to hit on, too, with Still It's Not Over, which is this amazing, beautiful, soaring cut right here that works really well as a centerpiece to the record. And I don't know if you guys meant it because it's actually in the center of the record, but it also sort of works, I don't know, in a big swelling part. I mean, is there a story behind that one?
Well, one of what we did this time round, which was kind of unusual for us, is that we worked on the choruses first for all the songs, and that seemed to make the choruses. In other words, we were going from a high point, and then we would go back to a low point, which would be the verses. So it made the choruses sound much bigger this time round. I've been working a little bit with the guy from the Bleachers, who I think is an amazing songwriter, and I've been kind of listening to how he has these amazing, massive choruses. You've got these kind of low-key verses, and then suddenly it goes bang, bang, into this huge, huge chorus, and I really wanted for us to use that kind of effect for our record. And that's definitely true of that particular track. You know, I think that technique kind of worked, paid off.
Just by chance of timing, also, I'd be curious if you heard the Depeche record that's out, because similar themes, and your past, obviously.
Yeah, I have heard it actually. I mean, I really like it. I think Martin's writing better now than ever. I mean, it's. I always have. I mean, I love the sounds that he makes. Yeah. You know, for his records, I think they're incredible, and I really love it. I mean, I especially like the single, the first single that they've released. I think it's you know, a really great piece of work. It's kind of, I think, I mean, it's kind of a little bit in the same kind of vein or flavour as the last album. You know, quite soul-y and kind of bluesy almost. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think that's a really interesting direction that they've taken.
I mean, it's a fan's dream come true to have both of you putting out the records at the same time, and even to have this similar path for both of them. I don't know. It's not like they're tied together, but in a sense, if you wanted to stretch it, you could, and that's fun. It's just, you know, geek fun, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a conspiracy theory. I know, I like those.
You working on anything? I know you're usually remixing other folks. Are you working on anything else right now outside of? I mean, I'm sure Erasure is, you know, all consuming for the year, but you seem to find time to do everything else all the time.
Yeah, I've got a few things going on. I've got kind of interesting. So, I mean, we're about to start touring in the UK, but I've got I'm doing a remix for a band called Ladytron from the UK. I'm doing music or editing for a podcast, which my wife is involved in, which basically means me spending, you know, an hour or 2 hours taking out ers and ums and like.
That's what I'll be doing later with all of my interviews, so I understand.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. You know, I'm getting quite good at it, actually, because I'm looking at the waveforms and going, yeah, that's a like. And I'm looking at the other waveform, yeah, that's an
That's
funny. I can almost do it without listening to it.
I do the exact same thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's such a weird little, I don't know, trait to have at this point in the career, I guess.
Yeah, and then you try and make those edits sound natural.
Right.
You know, so when somebody speaks and there's a great space between the words, you know, you have to kind of work, you know, don't take too much off.
Right.
Obviously, it doesn't sound like it's the same person. You know, it's kind of interesting. You know, so I'll be doing a lot of that on tour actually, and yeah, I mean, I'm doing little bits and pieces really. So I'm keeping myself well busy.
Yeah, sounds like you've got a good backup plan if this whole Erasure thing doesn't work out for you.
There's another career there somewhere. Yeah.
All right, Vince, thank you so much for talking today. Again, World Be Gone, you guys have done it again. I really appreciate the music and the conversation.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed having a chat.
All right, take care.
Yeah, you too. Cheers and bye-bye.
Bye.